There are seasons in life when heaven feels quiet. Prayers rise, but answers seem delayed. Days stretch into weeks, weeks into months, and still nothing changes. In those moments, faith is not challenged by suffering alone, but by silence. We ask questions we never imagined asking, God, are you listening? Have you forgotten me? Did I miss something? Scripture reminds us that silence from God is never absence. When he appears still, he is often working beneath the surface, preparing hearts before changing circumstances. One of the clearest examples of this truth is found in 1 Kings chapter 17, in the story of a prophet, a famine, and a widow who thought her story was over. The events of 1 Kings 17 unfold during one of Israel's darkest spiritual periods. King Ahab ruled the northern kingdom of Israel, a king who openly rejected the Lord and led the nation into idolatry. Baal worship dominated the land, and the people trusted false gods for rain, harvest, and provision. In response, God raised up a prophet named Elijah. Elijah boldly declared that there would be no rain, not for days or months, but for years, except at the word of the Lord. This drought was not just environmental, it was spiritual. Rain stopped, crops failed, livestock died, the economy collapsed, and slowly, painfully, everyone learned the same lesson. False gods cannot sustain real life. Even Elijah himself was not exempt from the hardship. God sent him to hide by the brook Cherith, where ravens brought him food. But eventually, the brook dried up too. God allowed even his prophet to experience lack because God was moving Elijah toward a divine appointment. God then instructed Elijah to go to Zarephath, a town outside Israel, in pagan territory. There God said, I have commanded a widow there to sustain you. But when Elijah arrived, the woman he met did not look like provision. She looked like desperation. She was a widow. She was poor. She was gathering sticks, not to cook a feast, but to prepare her last meal. Her words revealed the depth of her despair. I have only a handful of flour and a little oil. I am gathering sticks so that my son and I may eat it and die. This woman was not faithless. She was exhausted. She was not rebellious. She was resigned. She had reached the place many believers quietly reach. This is it. I've prayed all I know to pray. Yet, unknown to her, God had already woven her into a bigger story. Elijah's request sounds almost offensive at first. First make me a small cake and bring it to me. Imagine how that felt to her ears. She had barely enough for herself and her child, yet God asked her to give first. But Elijah also delivered a promise. The jar of flour will not run out, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the Lord sends rain. Here is the tension of the text. God did not give her abundance up front. He gave her daily dependence. The miracle was not instant overflow. The miracle was just enough every day. Each morning she reached into the jar, and there was flour. Each evening she tilted the jug, and oil still flowed. God didn't remove the famine immediately. He sustained her through it. And often that is how God works. For many days nothing visibly changed. The drought continued. The political climate stayed broken. The famine remained. But behind the scenes, God was doing something deeper. He was restoring faith. He was proving his faithfulness. He was teaching trust without guarantees. Sometimes God answers prayer not by ending the trial, but by strengthening us within it. The widow learned something she could never learn in comfort, that obedience, even when painful, invites provision, that giving even when scarce opens the door to grace, that God is not limited by what we see. Later in the chapter, tragedy strikes again, the widow's son dies. But even then, God is not finished. Through Elijah, God raises the child back to life. What began as a story of survival becomes a testimony of resurrection power. The widow declares, "Now I know that the word of the Lord is truth." What she thought was the end was actually the beginning of a deeper revelation of God, and that is the message for us today. When God seems silent, He is shaping faith. He is aligning hearts. He is preparing outcomes we could never orchestrate ourselves. The jar may look empty, but God is still filling it. The prayer may feel unanswered, but God is still working. Because God is never late, He is never idle, and He is never absent, even in the silence. Thank you for joining us today. If you want more content like this, please indicate below, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with your friends.